Hey everyone, today we're going to be checking out a new day pack and sling from a company called Alpargali. I took a look at the Kickstarter video for these items and they seem to offer a really impressive feature set and like they were designed for a lot of different situations. And in this video I'm going to be talking about what it's been like to use these over the past couple of weeks. I'll show you how I've loaded them out, walk through all the features, and I'll also talk about how they compare to some of the other similar items that are currently on the market. Before jumping into the video, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Danny, and on this channel, we love reviewing popular travel and everyday carry gear. If you like these types of videos and you'd be interested in seeing more, please consider subscribing as it helps the channel out a lot. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and jump in. Starting off with the overall aesthetic, to me this has a fairly rugged but still kind of modern vibe. It's an interesting mix. You have compression straps, attachment points, plenty of pocketing on the exterior, but it still doesn't feel overwhelmingly technical. The aesthetic is modern enough that it's something that I'd be comfortable using for traveling, for exploring a city, and potentially taking into the office, especially if you have the black colorway. As far as the materials, the bag feels solidly built. This exterior fabric is a 210D ripstop nylon that feels like it's going to offer a nice amount of durability and weather resistance. It also helps keep the weight of the bag down, and then beyond that you have some really solid components all throughout, including aqua-guarded YKK zippers. Continuing along the outside of the bag, I was happy to see that you have two external water bottle pockets, one on each side. These are going to offer a nice amount of elasticity. I was able to fit my 26-ounce Yeti Rambler, and that fits in there pretty comfortably. And it's nice that you have the other side to store an umbrella, an additional water bottle if you need to, and then if you pull the bottle out, because of that elasticity, it kind of hugs the bag nicely. On top of the water bottle pockets, you also have compression straps with these nice clips here that are going to be a good way to secure something a little taller if you want to pair this with a tripod. So always nice to have that, and then you can pull these tighter as well. On the front of the bag, you have attachment points that are going to allow you to attach a variety of accessories easily. Anything with a carabiner will be able to attach on here pretty easily. There's also third-party straps that you can use to kind of pair with both sides here, like the ones that Peak Design often includes in their bag. So always a fan of having the extra attachment points to give you some added flexibility. And then you have the Alpargali logo here on the front, which is a little bit prominent. You do have some interesting kind of pops of color with the zipper pulls and the logo. And at the top, you have a very comfortable handle. And so I like the distance here in the material that's been used. It feels comfortable, easy to get to. And then the last thing I'll mention on the exterior is how well the bag stands up on its own. So far, I have been able to stand it up when it's well loaded out, but I have noticed that it can tend to tip forward a little bit once I start to pull things out of the bag or the weight shifts a little bit. Moving into the capacity, this comes in at about 22 liters, which is a really great daily bag size in my opinion. I was able to hold all the items that I normally like to carry with me, and it still felt like I had some leftover space without the bag feeling overwhelmingly big or bulky. I like that even when it's packed out, it still maintains a fairly slim profile, which made it great for navigating crowded areas, jumping into public transit, going into the outdoors, or carrying it onto pretty much any domestic or international airline. Continuing with the harness system, so far the bag has been pretty comfortable to wear. The padding here is a little thinner than what I would typically like to see, but it is a nice kind of gel-like padding. On the inside you have this soft material, and then the straps have a pretty good width to help prevent the bag from digging into your shoulders. They maybe could have been slightly wider, but I haven't noticed any fatigue or pinching or anything like that. And then you have an attachment point here to clip on an additional accessory, as well as a sternum strap with a magnetic buckle so that you can easily get this on and off. Moving on to the back, you have a really nice padding here that's well distributed. This feels thicker than the one that's on the shoulder strap, so I would have liked to have seen something similar. And then it's also got some elevation to create this air channel while you're walking around throughout the day. And on the back, you also have this hidden compartment that's going to be a good spot to store something like a wallet, a passport, maybe a smaller phone, so that it's protected from pickpockets. And then I was a little bit sad to see that there's no luggage pass-through here. I did notice on the Kickstarter page that it mentioned that the bag might include a luggage pass-through. I don't know if that's because this is a pre-production unit, so I'll need to confirm with the company and leave a note in the description, but hopefully that is the case, that the final versions will have that, as it would definitely be a bonus here to be able to, stand this up on a suitcase while traveling. Jumping into the organizational options, the bag has a nice variety of pockets all throughout. This to me is one of the areas where it really shines. Starting off at the top, you have an excellent quick access pocket. Again, well protected zippers. And I love the volume that this offers. It's gonna be able to handle all types of accessories, my sunglasses with their case. I have a packable tote bag from Peak Design, and then a charging cable and my AirPods. All of that fits in there very comfortably. I have Tombin Ghostwell pouch, and so just lots of space and volume, and great for traveling to toss in maybe some toiletries, smaller jacket, over-ear headphones. So like the flexibility here. And then below that, you have another zippered pocket that is about this height here, and this also has the zippers protected by the aqua guards. And then, yeah, I love just how much capacity this offers. All of these compartments here on the front just give you so much flexibility. In this one, I have my mouse, a portable battery, I have a pair of scissors, and no internal organization, but still just very adaptable. And below that, one more quick access pocket, which again has just a nice amount of capacity. And here I have my USB-C hub with its charging cable that fits in there comfortably. And then moving into the main compartment, this does open up pretty flat. It's not quite a full clamshell style, but the zippers go down enough to allow it to open up and give you plenty of visibility into this main area. And so here you have, again, with the 22 liters of space, plenty of capacity for a typical EDC loadout. So at the moment, I have my Beat Studio wireless headphones. I have the mini Venture pouch from Lockbee, which I've been testing out lately. And then I have the Evergood Civic Access pouch half liter. I have the 1 liter, and then the 2 liter again. So these are all the kind of extra pouches, even more than I might typically carry with me, but they all fit in there very comfortably. It still felt like there was some leftover capacity. And then with this open layout, this is definitely the type of thing that I could use for minimal travel. If I wanted to toss in a packing cube, a toiletry bag, an extra pair of shoes, I could easily use this for a longer weekend trip. And in this main area, you also have plenty of built-in organization. And so starting off on the sides, you have these elastic compartments here that have a nice amount of space, one on each side. I actually have an umbrella in one of them at the moment, just to kind of showcase the capacity. And so lots of flexibility there. And then on the back, you have some additional compartments that actually have magnetic closure. And so that's a pretty cool idea. These have a good amount of volume, great for, charging accessories, something like a mouse, portable hard drive. I didn't actually store anything in these at the moment because of all my pouches. I prefer to not have any sort of bumps here, just let everything rest flat. But if you don't use as many pouches, I could definitely see how this would be valuable. And I like the magnetic closure here, the way that you can easily pull them open as well. Cool idea. And then behind that, you have a padded tablet sleeve. And so this is going to be able to handle a larger tablet. Here I have my iPad. You can see it kind of gets swallowed up. This sleeve isn't super rigid. It's a little thicker than your standard sort of slip pocket. I wish it was maybe slightly more padded. And same thing for the laptop sleeve here on the back. You do have a dedicated sleeve for it here, which is nice, and it's secured with this kind of elastic bungee cord at the top and this clip here. So that works pretty well. And then this will easily be able to handle a 15 or 16 inch laptop. Currently I have my 14-inch MacBook Pro here, but you can see there is plenty of leftover space. And so you do have the padding on the back. You have a slight padding here on the front. This isn't pulled up off the bottom of the ground in the way that I was hoping. So when you drop your laptop in there, the bag is empty. It's definitely feels like, you could have sort of a bump. You have a little bit of padding here, so it's not just exposed completely, but it's not a false bottom, which is what I typically like to see. And then go ahead and pull my device out. Now with the compartment empty, you can get a better look at the inside. This does come up a decent amount, so if you happen to have a thicker device or you want to use a case with your laptop, it should be able to handle it. I would probably want to use a case just to have that extra protection on the bottom since it's not really suspended. And then on the other side, you have some additional organization on the lid. On the bottom here, you have this elastic kind of slip pocket, which, is great for any sort of accessories you want to drop in there. At the moment, I have my Alpaca admin pouch. But, as you probably saw with me maneuvering this main compartment, things can kind of slide out from there. So you'll have to keep that in mind. And then above that, you have an awesome zipper pocket. This I'm always a fan of. Something with this amount of volume near the top of the bag, especially to pair with this section. It was great to be able to use both of these with their own sort of independent volume. And so at the moment, I actually have my DJI Neo drone in here. You can see it fits in here without any issues. Another great spot maybe for some larger headphones or other tech accessories that you're trying to get to more regularly. So love how many of these compartments have been included on the front and having this one here near the top. And so overall, just a really cool layout throughout the bag. I think it's super useful. I like that the organization that's been included feels like something that will adapt to a lot of different items that you might be carrying. And yeah, I think it's a really solid kind of all-purpose bag. And if you're looking for something that's going to be functional and that's going to offer, solid materials, then this is going to be a cool option to consider. Coming back around to the Sling bag, this has a similar aesthetic to the backpack, so kind of a mix of something that's rugged but still has some of those modern touches. And so I think that this is a really cool style. It's going to work well in a lot of different settings. The materials here, again, you have the ripstop nylon, aqua guarded YKK zippers, so very solidly built. It's going to offer a nice amount of weather resistance. And then on the exterior, you have nice strap here to allow you to sling it over your back. On the front, you have a lot of kind of distance on the strap itself to give you flexibility and adjust it to be whatever you want it to be. And you have this fidlock buckle here, which slides, locks in securely. So always a fan of that. And then the back doesn't have, any sort of breathable material necessarily, but given the size of the sling, I don't think that's a big deal. This, feels similar to some of the 2 and 3 liter slings that I've used in the past. And so, a nice amount of capacity to hold the types of things that wouldn't fit in your pockets, but that you'd want to be able to access quickly and not, take up space maybe in your backpack, or that it wouldn't be enough to really necessitate the use of a large backpack. So, really nice size here. It doesn't feel overwhelmingly bulky. And then as far as the layout, you have a nice pocket setup here. I actually have a lot of the items that I was using for the backpack out, so I might kind of load this in reverse. And so on the front, you have this quick access pocket. The zipper here is not aqua guarded, but it is protected by this lid, so you have some protection. And then on the inside here, you have a nice material similar to what was on the inside of the backpack, and then plenty of space. So this is definitely the type of thing that could handle, my sunglasses just with the volume that's there. And then I could toss in my AirPods. Charging cable would be able to fit in there easily. So any of these sorts of things that I'm grabbing the most will be able to go in there. No problem. It still feels like I actually have a little bit of leftover space if I wanted to toss in something else, just for the sake of space. Put in this packable tote bag, which isn't necessarily what I would use, but you can see that there is some volume there. On the back, you have a zippered pocket that is going to rest against your back. So this is going to provide a little bit more security if you want to use it to store some extra cash or credit cards, ID, a smaller wallet. The field notes that I would typically use kind of as a demo, you can see it's a little taller than what would comfortably fit into the pocket. So, that's something I wish that this was maybe just a little bit higher, but it will still get the job done. If you need to squeeze it in there, it will close. And then again, for cash, for cards, even your phone, you should be able to store it in there. And then moving into the main compartment, this one does have the aqua guarded zipper. And then you have a nice layout here. This is the type of layout that I'm always a fan of for slings. It doesn't go overboard as far as the pocketing, but what it does offer feels very useful. You have a couple of slip pockets here that are gonna offer a decent amount of space. They're not elastic, but they will help kind of add some separation to the compartment. So this might be good for holding something flatter, like one of these battery banks that I have with me, or portable hard drive, other sort of EDC items, some AirPods if I didn't have them on the front. On the back, you have a dedicated pocket that might be a good spot for, your phone, or portable battery might fit in here, particularly if you have one of the taller ones. This might be a good spot for it. And then you have a zippered compartment here as well to provide some separation for any smaller cables or dongles or things like that. And you have some space here in the middle. You can see that this does have some volume to it, so you can use it to store any of the larger items that maybe you didn't have on the front. So if I wanted to kind of bring back my sunglasses just to kind of showcase that they would fit in here very comfortably. Same with the tote bag. If you have cameras, a GoPro or something, it would be able to fit in here. And then this could also potentially be the place to put something like the umbrella. It does have enough height here, so especially if you have one that's a little bit smaller, maybe a water bottle. So all the types of things that I've normally used sling bags for in the past. The last thing I'll call out is that you do have a little lanyard with a clip that'll be a good spot for your keys or a multi-tool that you want to be able to find easily. So, you know, really like the layout and the form factor of this sling. I think these materials feel great, and you know, it's gonna be an awesome companion for the backpack. If you're traveling and you have your backpack on, you can put this on the front so that you can access some of your more sensitive documents, or even if you just wanna use the sling bag on its own as a more minimal daily carry solution, I think this is gonna be a really cool option to take a look at. And so to wrap up, it's been a pretty great experience testing out the new day pack and sling from Alpargali. At the time of filming, the Kickstarter for these is still live, and they have a couple of different price points. For the backpack, it's gonna come in at around $120 on its own. I believe the regular price for the bag will be around $250. And then I didn't see the solo pricing for the sling bag, but if you bundle them together, you can get both for around $160. And so that feels like a pretty solid deal for the two options. At the $250 price point, you know, that this may be at once it actually goes live on the regular side, I still think that, you know, it's gonna offer a lot of value for the price. It offers, you know, a solid build quality, but there's gonna be some other great bags in that price range that may be worth considering. And so as I was testing these out, the first company they made me think of is Bellroy, particularly their Venture series of bags. I've been a big fan of the Venture Ready backpack, which is offered in a 20 and 26 liter size. To me, they have pretty similar design and vibe to the Alpargali Day Pack. The layout is gonna be a little bit different. I really love the quick access pocket on the Bellroy Venture backpacks. And of course you have the luggage pass-through. You still have an external water bottle pocket, a zippered pocket on the side, clamshell opening. And so just something that feels very rugged and is designed to be kind of more into the outdoors and adventurous. And then they also have their Venture slings, which are some of my favorite. Absolutely love the look of the Venture sling, offered in a couple of different sizes. I really like the flexibility of, you know, the sling. It can expand and compress to adapt to whatever you're carrying, and, you know, very solid materials. And so if you like this vibe of bag, but you're looking for slightly different layouts or some variety on the sizes, then I definitely recommend you check those out. The next company these made me think of is Evergoods. On the backpack front, this reminded me of the Evergoods CHZ22 and the MPL22, both of which are just really solid kind of all-purpose bags, very rugged materials. They're gonna offer dual external water bottle pockets. And then with the MPL22, you have a really nice organizational layout, clamshell style opening, some good quick access pockets. So that one is more geared towards kind of the outdoors. It's more of a hiking focused bag. And then the CHZ can also work for that use case, but it now has the dedicated laptop compartment. So that's gonna be great for everyday carry usage. And then you have a top loading design with a simpler organizational layout that can still hold a ton of stuff. The CHZ also comes in at a 26 liter size, so if you need something that's gonna give you some extra space, that'll be worth checking out. And then on the sling side, Evergoods Civic Access Sling is one of my favorites. I really love that it has, you know, Evergoods minimal aesthetic, but then the layout is also fantastic. I love the front pocket is gonna offer just a lot of space. And then it can be worn as a waist pack and a sling bag. It works well in both configurations. It's got a comfortable back panel. And so if you're looking for kind of a rugged, useful sling, that's definitely gonna be another great option to take a look at. And then the last company that I'll mention here is Air. I've been a big fan of their city collection as of late, and so the vibe of that is gonna be a little bit different. It's got more of a modern, techie, minimal vibe, but still, you know, great for all sorts of different purposes. The City Pack Pro 2 has been one of my favorite bags of the year. I love the clamshell style layout, comfortable harness system, dual external water bottle pockets, dedicated laptop compartment that's well padded, suspended, good organization all throughout. So just really checking off all the boxes for what I'm normally looking for. Great materials as well. And then Air also has a couple of really great slings. The City Sling in particular is, you know, just a really great, unique option. It's got a nice layout, great build quality. And so, you know, if you like Air's aesthetic and you want something that's gonna be a little sleeker, more modern, then those are gonna be some fantastic options to take a look at. With that being said, the Alpargali Day Pack and Sling hold up very well against all those options, and it's great to see another new competitor in this space bringing some cool designs, functional bags. And so if you're looking for something that's gonna work well in a lot of different situations, that's gonna give you a great layout, solid build quality, then I think these are gonna be some really cool options to take a look at. And I'm definitely curious to hear what you all think of the Alpargali Day Pack and Sling Bag and how they compare to some of the other popular tech and EDC options that are currently on the market. And if there's any similar bags that you think that I should check out, as always, please let me know in the comments. And I want to thank the company for sending the bags for me to test out, and to you guys for watching and supporting the channel. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like, and if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming videos, and we'll see you in the next one.